The rain that night sounded like the slow tearing of paper thin, endless and personal. Maya stood on the porch she had once painted sunshine yellow with her mother, clutching a single duffel bag that held everything she still called hers, 2 changes of clothes, a battered laptop wrapped in a faded hoodie, and a tiny silver hairpin that had belonged to her grandmother. Behind her, the door she had shut was already locked from the inside. Ahead, the street lamp flickered as if begging her to keep moving. She was 19, barefoot because her father had hurled her sneakers after her with the words, "If you're choosing code over kin, go live with your circuits." The echo of that slam still rang in her ribs. She pressed the hairpin against her heart, whispered, "I'm still your daughter," and stepped into the rain. That whisper was the last thing her family ever heard from her. 7 days later, what showed up at her old house was not Mayasha, was 200 miles away by then, but a plain white envelope slipped through the mail slot. Inside was a single sheet of heavy paper. On it, typed in an unassuming font, were the words, "For every door slammed, a window opens. Keep the receipt. No signature, no return address." Her mother unfolded it with shaking hands, and though she could not know it yet, that anonymous note would become the hinge on which 2 entire futures would swing. Keep watching, because the last 30 seconds of this story will hit harder than any lottery win. She slept the first night in the back room of a 24-hour laundromat, the hum of dryers louder than her thoughts. When the owner, Mrs. Gutierrez, found her at dawn curled beneath a folding table, she did not call the police. She set down a cup of cinnamon tea and said, "Dryers are warm, but they don't keep dreams alive." "What do you need, Mija?" Maya answered, "A plug and 3 hours to finish my scholarship app." Mrs. Gutierrez pointed to the corner outlet and added, "Stay as long as you need. Just promise you'll remember this place when you're somebody." Maya promised, not knowing that one day she would return with a key to a brand new building and give Mrs. Gutierrez the deed to the laundromat's upgraded solar roof. She won the scholarship barely. The committee later admitted they almost passed her over because her essay was too technical. What saved her was a single line. "My code is my love letter to every kid who's ever been told they don't belong." That line was read aloud in the final round, and the youngest judge, himself a former foster kid, fought tears and pushed the acceptance vote through. In her first semester at university, she wore the same hoodie every day, washed in dorm sinks at 2 a.m. She ate the free cereal left out for breakfast all day long, and when classmates joked about digital orphans, she laughed with them, storing the sting to power late-night debugging sessions. She majored in human-computer interaction because people, not circuits, had thrown her away. She wanted to build bridges back to them. There was a moment deep in her second year when her bank account read 4.27 and her laptop screen cracked right down the middle like a fault line. She sat on the library floor, stared at the fracture, and felt her future split open along the same seam. A stranger, an older grad student named Louis, knelt beside her, opened his own laptop, and said, "I've got a spare screen in my lab. Trade me an hour of tutoring my niece in Scratch next Saturday." The repair took 15 minutes. The friendship lasted a lifetime. Louise became her co-founder. They launched their startup in a garage that smelled of motor oil and ambition. The first prototype was a simple app that translated sign language into spoken words in real time. They called it VoiceBridge because that's what it did, bridge voices. They had one microphone, one second-hand camera, and 0 investors. For 6 months, they lived on ramen and belief. Maya's hands shook from exhaustion, but the code never did. When rejection emails stacked higher than their pizza boxes, Louise once asked, "What if we're wrong?" Maya answered, "Then we'll be wrong at the top of our lungs, not whispering in someone else's dream." They kept pitching. The first small grant came from a foundation that funded women in tech. Maya used half to pay Louis back rent and half to buy sleeping bags for the team so they could crash under the workbenches instead of driving home. One night, while debugging at 3 a.m., the app finally translated "I love you" from sign to speech without a single lag. The room went silent, except for the soft mechanical voice repeating, "I love you. I love you," they cried ugly, nose running tears because someone somewhere would now hear those words who had never heard them before. The emotional high of that first perfect translation was pierced by the next morning's eviction notice taped to the garage door. They had 48 hours to clear out. Have you ever held a miracle in your hands while the ground disappears beneath your feet? They moved operations to the only place that would take them without a deposit, a community center for deaf children that had a spare classroom and faith in exchange for coding workshops. There, Maya met Aisha, a 6-year-old whose laughter sounded like wind chimes and whose signs were poetry. During one workshop, Aisha tugged Maya's sleeve and signed slowly, "When I grow up, I want to build doors that open with smiles." Maya stored that sentence like a seed in her chest. Years later, when VoiceBridge released its facial recognition feature that allowed doors to unlock with a smile, the launch video ended with Aisha's grown-up face and that same sentence captioned beneath. By year 3, the company had 10 employees, all under 30, half of them women, 3 of them formerly homeless. They still paid themselves last. When a mid-level competitor tried to buy them out for a sum that would have made each co-founder a millionaire, Maya asked the team, "Do we sell our tomorrow for their today?" The vote was unanimous. Keep building. The first big contract came from a hospital network that wanted VoiceBridge to help post-stroke patients regain speech. The pilot saved one man's marriage. He signed, "I'm still me," to his wife for the first time since his stroke. The wife sent Maya a handwritten letter. "You gave me back my husband's soul." Maya pinned it above her desk next to the eviction notice she never threw away. But the night before the official rollout, their servers crashed. Hackers had hit them with ransomware, demanding 250, zero in 48 hours. Maya stared at the countdown clock on the screen. 47, 59, 58, and felt 19 again, standing in the rain with a duffel bag. The team gathered in silence. Louise finally said, "We can't pay. We won't." Instead, they stayed up 36 hours straight, rebuilding on open-source architecture, refusing to negotiate with criminals. When the countdown hit 0, the hackers released the data out of spite, but VoiceBridge was already live on new servers, stronger, faster, and free. The attempted sabotage became the pivot that made their security protocols industry-leading. The media called it the miracle reboot. Investors finally lined up. Maya chose only those who agreed to her terms. Every new hire cohort must include at least 30% from underrepresented backgrounds, and 5% of net profit would fund tech literacy in homeless shelters. Boardrooms bristled, but she smiled and said, "My company, my conscience." One investor walked out. 10 better ones walked in. When VoiceBridge went public, Maya was 27. The morning the stock bell rang, she wore the same silver hairpin she called Mrs. Gutierrez from the trading floor and asked, "Remember the promise, Mrs.?" Gutierrez laughed through tears as Maya wired the first solar payment. Then came the letter, the same plain white envelope, the same typed font. This time it read, "You kept the receipt, now keep the change." Inside was a key to a building in her hometown. No name, no deed, just an address. Maya drove there after market close and found a derelict library her mother used to take her to for story hour. The key fit the front door. On the front step sat Aisha, now 16, holding a sign, "Let's build doors that open with smiles." Behind her stood Luis, the entire VoiceBridge team, Mrs. Gutierrez, the grad student niece now a Codertha stroke patient, and his wife, even the youngest scholarship judge. The building became the first Kind Tech hub, offering free coding classes to anyone who'd ever been told they didn't belong. Maya's parents did not come. They had moved away years earlier, leaving no forwarding address. But on opening day, a courier delivered a small package. Inside was the eviction notice from the garage, now framed in reclaimed wood, with a note. "Returned to sender. Paid in full. No signature." Maya hung it in the lobby beside the first VoiceBridge prototype. 5 years later, KindTech expanded to 12 cities. Maya still answered the support line on Christmas. One December call came from a raspy-voiced woman who said, "I think I'm your mother." Maya's heart paused. The woman continued, "I've followed every article, every launch, but I was too ashamed. I just wanted to hear your voice." Maya closed her eyes, felt the rain again, then said softly, "Mom, the door is open." It always was. They met on neutral ground, Mrs. Gutierrez's laundromat, now solar, powered, and bustling. They cried together over cinnamon tea. Her mother brought the white envelope she had received 7 days after Maya left. She had kept it in her Bible all these years. Maya realized the anonymous notes had been coming. On the 10th anniversary of VoiceBridge, Maya stood on a stage in front of 5,000 employees and alumni. She began her speech with the question she asks every new hire: "Who told you no, and what will you build to prove them wrong?" Then she revealed the next project, a global open-source platform that allows any voiceless person, whether from disability, displacement, or despair, to speak through technology built by people who once had no voice either. She ended with, "The universe keeps receipts. Tonight, we pay it forward." The last 30 seconds, the lights dimmed, and on the screen appeared Aisha, now a lead engineer, standing in front of the library turned hub. She signed slowly, and the mechanical voice translated, "This is for every child still on a porch with a duffel bag. Come in." The door opens with any smile, even one that's still learning how. Then the screen cut to a live feed from every KindTech hub worldwide, hundreds of doors lighting up green as people entered, smiles unlocking futures. If you've ever been told you're too much, not enough, or simply not seen, this story is yours to keep. Share it with the person who needs to hear that doors open long after families close. If this moved you, gently tap like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling us the dream you're still building. Every voice matters here. Disclaimer: this story is an original work for the Kind Story, created by human writers with AI assistance for formatting or narration. It reflects real-life-inspired emotions and adheres to YouTube's community guidelines and monetization policies.